Morning, everyone. We're just going to wait for a minute to let the attendees log in, and then we will be starting the session. So, Honorable Textile Commissioner, Ms. Ruprashi ma'am, distinguished panelists, webinar participants, and proponents of sustainability, a very good morning to all. My name is Abhishek Jani, and I head the Fairtrade India project. On behalf of the organizers, Center for Social Markets, Fairtrade India project, and Fiber to Fashion, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the webinar, Sustainability in Action, Exploring Circularity and Sustainable Solutions in the Textiles Industry. This webinar has been organized with the support of the Switch Asia program of the European Union government, working on United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 12. The goal is aimed at supporting a transition to sustainable production and consumption practices across Asia and the world. To provide some context, I would like to share a brief introduction about the organizers of this webinar. Center for Social Markets is a not-for-profit organization working to create a more environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable society. Its main areas of focus include promoting sustainable agriculture, climate action, and responsible business practices. CSM is undertaking several programs to promote sustainability in food and textile sector in India. Fairtrade India project is associated with the Fairtrade International Network and is a sustainable and ethical platform for consumers, institutions, businesses, and pharma organizations in India. In the textile sector, working across the value chain from farm to factory, Fairtrade India promotes the adoption of sustainability practices and the sourcing of sustainable Fairtrade certified raw material. And finally, Fiber to Fashion has been a forerunner serving as a single-stop solution for the textile, apparel, and fashion industry, carving a niche for over 2 decades. With a strong global presence and widespread reach in the industry, Fiber to Fashion is a world leader in facilitating businesses with critical and accurate industry information, innovative brand-building solutions, as well as market research insights for the textile industry. Fiber to Fashion is a name synonymous as a knowledge disseminator that delivers exactly what matters to the industry and businesses in the textile industry. So it has been really exciting to work in this partnership and collaborate to bring together this webinar on promoting sustainability. The textiles industry has been coming under growing scrutiny for its environmental and social impact. Factors such as growing consumer awareness, accelerating climate change, the effects of which are visible to all, increasing regulations for the industry in international markets and in India, new reporting requirements on environmental, social, and governance reporting, or better known as ESG reporting, and business responsibility and sustainability reporting, or known as BRSR reporting in India, are all prompting a call for faster and greater implementation of sustainability practices in the textile industry. So keeping a focus on this need for transition and a need for the textile industry to implement practical business case-led sustainability solution, this webinar has been organized. During this webinar, industry pioneers, leading sustainability practitioners, textile manufacturers, and sustainability innovators will provide practical insights and solutions on sustainability in action. To achieve this transition towards greater sustainability, all stakeholders need to play a proactive role. And on its part, the Government of India and all the state governments are key stakeholders to accelerate the adoption of sustainability practices. So to inaugurate the webinar, we have a message from the Honorable Textile Commissioner of India, Ms. Ruprashi ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for addressing this gathering.
Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be part of this webinar on sustainability in action, exploring circularity and sustainable solution in the textile industry. I've been requested to put the context wherein how do we in India look at sustainability and what are the perspectives government and the textile value chain has on the issue. Before getting into the subject, I would like to just have few pointers for all the participants here. As would be aware, textile represent a domain which meets not only our basic and safety needs, but also esteem needs of humanity, if we go to the Maslow's hierarchy of human needs pyramid. In fact, the modern industrial revolution owes itself to Spinning Jenny by James Hargreaves in 1764. And hence, textiles are at the foundation of modern market-led production, consumption, and the modern state, which is constantly evolving in search of balance and fair market play. However, like other modern industries, more demand has also resulted in adversely impacting the environment, like other industrial developments. And hence the concern which may impinge on sustainability on the planet for the enterprise and for the world. Some of the alarms which we keep listening to, I thought it is worthwhile to repeat them. World Bank study says that textile industry is responsible for 20% of the global water pollution. UNEP poses issue to 9% of microplastic pollution. UNFCCC reviews 1.2 billion tons of greenhouse gases world over are attributable to textiles. UNEP also looks at 8,000 chemicals which we use, of which in the textile value chain, we are aware of only 20% and their effects. UNIDO estimates 5 million tons of chemical usage in India, including salts, dyestuffs, etc. Ellen MacArthur has discomfort with loss of value by increase and less use volumes. Fashion for Good estimated 8.5% of textile waste accumulation in India. The apparel industry also has a high consumption rate of plastic, using 342 million barrels of petroleum, equating to 1.35% of global consumption, to create synthetic fibers used in clothes, that is polyester and nylons. Of the 32 billion garments that are produced each year, 64% end up in landfill. We have certain interesting imaginations which also alarm to us that every 7 minutes, an equivalent of Mount Everest in height of clothes is thrown in landfills. So if you stack 12 months worth of fashion landfill, it would reach 613,000,000 meters high. Now, these alarms are only to underline that the problems are there and we need constant multi-pronged approach to contend. Not that one has to feel defeated in front of these challenges. Before going to address the problems, I would like to say that it is important to understand the complexity of manufacturing process of textile value chain. My esteemed colleagues on the webinar may know more deeper, more wider and historical approach. However, few of the basic things which I would like to underline before we get into, and I expect other panelists to add on to the problem solution paradigms. We use various fibers, natural and man-made. We have a long value chain from farm to final good. We have industry which is spread in clusters in case of India specifically, which is historically grown. The margins at each point are either thin or are dependent on the previous point. The cost variables have technology as a very, very high cost element. We have energy cost from manufacturing to logistics, which add on to the load on the system. Wage cost, which is important factor in production and hence importance of how we use our human resource in the process. Demand of basic need is continuing to grow. Yesterday, we had one spiritual leader to our Chintan Shiva, and he also underlined that this is a sector where demand is not going to go down. Now, within that 0.5% increase year on year of the population, even at the basic level, we will need a certain volumes to be continued to be produced. And hence, it is the distribution of demand, supply chain variables, and value return variables that would play a crucial role in changing dynamics of the benefits as well as harms to humanity. In case of India, and I'm sure wherever we are getting into value added, textiles remain one of the largest livelihood support providers also, second only to agriculture. In this problematic, we should look at it that due to wage cost differential, there has been a historical shift of production from developing to the lower developed countries. And herein the problem of sustainability of enterprise also comes up. This also would underline the obligations on the part of various stakeholders when we have to address the cost of changing the processes for overall improvement. Before I go to the responsible production as a problematic, which is part of our sustainable development goal, in my view, what is required to look at a responsible production hovers around water management and energy management and people management. These are obviously being packaged as differential performance indicators through ESG. However, how do we perceive and operationalize it for our textile industry, which is reasonably medium, small, and micro enterprise for India? On the demand side, markets need to achieve transparency, demand pull for these global concerns, and how do we incentivize recycling, EPRs, that is extended producer obligations, responsibilities, and maybe even getting into extended consumer responsibilities. The challenges for textile value chain in terms of decarbonization, desalinations, look at two aspects. One is the input management, whether it is water, chemicals, energy. Two, how to treat output, which is water, again, chemicals, recycling, upcycling, logistic, end of life management, etc. Some of these changes are fairly capital intensive and hence require deployment of resources. And when it comes to deployment of resources, I look up to partnership from the industry, from the financial systems, from the institutional support to ensure that textile value chain remains sustainable and is on the right path of responsible production. The questions would be whether one size would fit all. Is reducing volume enough? Or is it important to make process more efficient? Making the process more efficient needs to be combined with maybe recouping, recycling, or reuse till the end of garment. All these words are oft repeated in a lot of webinars. But do we really internalize them? Not only webinars, a lot of interactions. How do we take it forward from our respective positions, whether it is governance, regulation, or the industry? We do have positive green shoots. We are seeing that there is a shifting consumer sentiment. There have been studies by Deloitte as well as by McKinsey, which show that the next generation is more amenable to look at responsible production and would like to ask more questions before going into reckless consumerism. It is also heartening to see that brands are themselves getting into renewable energy sources, zero waste, reducing transport emissions, prioritizing electric, non-renewable energies, prioritizing green certification, etc., etc. Though unfortunately, in some of the cases, we did come across some of the greenwashing. So we need to up our vigilance as service providers to be ensured that in the name of giving a sustainably produced, a responsibly produced product. One is not just trying to achieve a certification, because certifications are means to an end and not the end themselves. Now, what we need to do is an opportunity for creating enabling and facilitative ecosystem through the brand pull. We need to, if there is any increase in cost, then I would look forward to the sourcing brand to take care, because it is not possible that all the ancillarization units can on their own convert all the processes as desired in this, specifically now when the demand scenario is low. The reinvestment opportunities require a lot of support. In India case, at macro level, we have already taken positions on climate change. We have at the national level 8 missions, and our Honorable Prime Minister has also launched Mission Life Cycle for Environment in 2022. Why I mention it is that the green certificates, green credits, which are being thought of by our allied ministry, we look forward that our industry should be able to use it well, basis their good water usage or better energy usage in the process. At policy level, we look at various action from the Ministry of Textiles. It is to look at if there could be, we could facilitate incentivize credit for responsible production covering water use, energy, chemical efficient processes, by looking at supporting the processing segment of the textile industry. At program implementation level, we are trying to engage with center, state, even local governments to look at how to mainstream the concerns in textile production. We also look forward to interface with regulatory incentives, even the financial sector incentives, in terms of obligatory use of under ESGs. We look for innovative finance in approaches with World Bank. We started some work on possibilities of looking at wastewater reuse also, so that it adds on to the balance sheet of the producing unit and enables them to, it enables a more responsible unit to get better returns from a very, from all the initiatives they take to augment or contribute to the sustainable production. We also look at advocacy. On supply side, we look at raw material efficacy through regenerative and innovative material sourcing. Now, we look at that it should not be just a limited thing of recycling a product. I need to look at it that whatever fiber we are using, whether it is natural or man-made, whether it does help at the form level or at the process level, we can make the process more compliant to the concerns of environment. Regenerative farming methods would help promote climate change mitigation and adoption. Following some of the practices which we also have in our real code for cotton can restore the balance for the land. We also are looking forward to alternative source of fibers. Though they would be small in quantity, we need to see that how do they help the industry get remunerative returns, maybe through a niche market. We look forward to biotechnological advances wherein fiber can be taken out from the waste. We can take out dyes from the waste. We are also looking at Himalayan fibers. We are looking at recouping dyes from the product. We are looking at, so these are all what we, when I say, these are a kind of combined effort at various levels. Our textile research institutions are working. Our textile industry is working, can we synergize our effort on R&D to actually translate it for the returns for the value chain. Another issue which we would look forward is how do we bring in more process efficiency? On one side, we look at integrating the processes and making our Mitra Park as more climate efficient zones, which is obviously the big dream. However, can we do something about our existing clusters in terms of facilitation of efficient technology, wet processing, getting into ZGSC compliances, waterless dyeing, saltless dyeing, maybe even getting into systems of washing in a way with new nitrogen chamber-based indigo dyeing, maybe something which Bharpa Atomic Research has also done is through a nanofiltration technology, wherein we can actually try to reach even hopefully a potable water after treating the textile effluents. The critical factor, we need to ensure that our labor is required for sustainability of enterprise. On the brand side, we see that brands are prioritizing their workers' rights. From our side also, from the governance side also, we are also looking at that we could have frameworks like where the same data can be shared and they can be rating through a calibration, maybe something like we had discussions with Texprosil and others on how to make SLCP, the factory certifications, etc., less costly and more sustainable for a long value chain. Now, in terms of use of digitalization from spinning to manufacturing, can be designed to reduce waste? Again, this will be part of input management. Can we get into collection and recycle? We look at collection recycle as hopefully also generating a lot of micro enterprises, tying up with urban local bodies. It can actually give a lot of livelihood options. We can have assurance of the processes through a lot of certifications. Now, certifications, I do have certain issues in terms of it should not be becoming a service generator for service sector, but it should feed in for our textile industry. Through Textile Committee, one of our agencies, we have trained more than 24,000 personnel to enable entities get into environmental aspects. And I'm told that the same personnel or liaising with more institutes, we can make more of our entities Scope 3 compliant. On the demand side, what we do, what you do, what all of us do, maybe we started with UNEP, we are doing with UNIDO, is looking at a demand which is not unrealistic, at the same time, which looks at not high end of consumerism, but more sustainable and responsible production. Circularity is a word which should also come out of its intellectual domain, and we should help our small and medium enterprises to look at how they can make their processes in the value chain, and primarily from fiber to fiber circularity, how can we involve them. Internationally, we have market innovations in terms of rental fashion, second-hand market. I'm sure our new generation itself is pretty high on it, and maybe governance need not really get into it. One is seeing a healthy use of media, social media by new generation for reducing the volumes that are produced by getting into pre-loved kind of domain. So I would like to sign off with some commitments to ourselves, and I would look forward from other speakers that we all need to commit to the idea. Now, we don't need to debate the idea. We need to commit resources. We need to commit to betterment of human resources. We need to commit to collaboration on technology. We need to facilitate credit flow, financial, institutional support for this change, and across the value chain. For sustainability of value chain, integrating sustainability of enterprise. Today only we had a discussion with GIZ Germany to look at sustainability definition and adoption for specific concerns even in India. So I believe that we need to find our solutions, and hopefully our solutions will supplement and integrate with global solution in all letter and spirit. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ruprashi ma'am, for your encouraging and supportive message. Indeed, it is with your leadership and the leadership of the government that the industry will be able to undertake a faster adoption, sustainability solutions, and I dare say India could become a global leader and a global hub for sustainable textiles manufacturing.
We now move on to the next session on increasing water efficiency and circularity in the textile industry. Water is one of the critical resources needed by the textile industry. And in this session, we explore some innovative techniques on how to reduce the amount of water utilized in textile production processes. It is my pleasure to invite the session of chair, Dr. Vanita Prasad, and our panelist for the session, Mr. Ganesh Shankar. Dr. Vanita Prasad is the founder, director, and CTO, Ravi Environmental Solutions Private Limited. Ravi Environmental Solution is a biological waste management firm focusing on the improvisation of conventional biomethane process, waste treatment and biomethane production through anaerobic digestion process, which is their core area of expertise. Welcome, ma'am. Our next guest speaking at the session is Mr. Ganesh Shankar, co-founder and CEO of FluxGenTech. FluxGenTech is a technology-driven industrial water management firm that helps industries to monitor their water usage in real time, thus helping industries to reduce water usage and wastage. So to start with the session, over to you, Dr. Vanita.
Thank you, organizers, for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on circular economy or the circularity and the challenges which are faced by the industry at this point of time. I welcome all of you onto this session of exploring circularity and sustainable solution in textile industry. I will be now sharing my screen to share my presentation. Okay, so I'm Dr. Vanita Prasad, founder and CTO of Ravi Environment Solution Private Limited. I'm a PhD in biotechnology and I am passionate about converting a huge resource which we call as waste into energy using anaerobic digestion technology. We have developed a few patents for converting waste materials into fuels like methane and hydrogen. So coming to the very core of our session topic, that is why industry or what are the challenges which industries is facing at this point of time. The main challenge is energy crisis, water scarcity, resource scarcity, and climate change and global warming. But what industry can do, how we can resolve it? The thing is that we need to do a resource efficiency. What do you mean by this is that is we have to be very selective while selecting our raw material as well as energy resources, and we need to minimize the waste emissions. We have to minimize any risk involved or any hazards involved during our process, and then the responsible management of our energy flow. This needs a lot of attention while how we will be making the product reusable or recycle, or how we are handling the disposal of our products. That is very, very important. And why this industries has to think of resource efficiency is because they themselves get benefited by this, as they will get a reduction in their cost of buying a materials like chemicals or energy as such. Their disposal cost will be less, and their compliance, the most important is compliance with the law governing waste emissions and use of chemicals. And as we know, day by day, these laws are becoming stringent and stringent. And that's why it's very important to think over resource recovery. Over a long time, a lot of people who have applied this have really got a very good business out of it. Even a carbon credit is now a business. So on those lines, the industry can think on how they can expand their exports and have a good customers across globe. So when I am talking about resource efficiency, how we will be monitoring or how it will be indicated is that what is dematerialization is that material intensity per unit of service. Whatever service you are providing, how much material you are using on that, and what is your carbon footprint while doing all that process, and your process of producing that is producing how much of greenhouse gases and any hazardous material. So there has to be an integrated management system so that you understand that how to recover your resource at maximum. So when I'm talking about this resource efficiency, these are all interlinked. One leads to other and other leads to the next thing. So all of them are interconnected, and we have to think in a holistic manner. And in this table, I have tried to capture how if we use less water, that will means that we will need less energy to pump less water as solvent, or we need to have less water consumption means need of treatment is less, your sludge treatment will be lesser, your chemicals will be lesser, and so on, so forth. So that is what the resource efficiency means to us as industry person. And now coming to the main challenge, that is waste. When we talk about any industry, there is the main challenge that we call waste. And in my definition, I call this as a resource which is placed at a wrong place at a wrong time. And we need to find a right place and a right way to use it. And that is the basis of circular economy. And waste comes into a vicious cycle of climate change. A lot of greenhouse gas emissions are happening from the waste we generate. So we need to understand the waste hierarchy. That is, we need to first, if we really want to go into the circular economy phase, we need to prevent the generation of waste by selecting the processes wisely. Then we have to reuse some of the things which are coming out. Then we have to recycle and reuse go in hand, and we need to think on that. And then finally, if we get some byproducts, how we can recover some other things from it. And then finally, very small amount can be disposed. And that's where we need to head on. And when we see on to the SDGs goals, which has been given to us for sustainable development, we see that the sum of these goals, this is basically the wedding cake kind of picture which has been shared by the experts in this field. They say that the main SDGs goals are linked with the biosphere. And therein then we need to first focus on to these particular SDGs goal, and followed by that is society, and then is economy. So all of them are very important, but the basis will be the biosphere, and the water, as we all know, is the main basis of the life. Water and energy both. If we need energy to really do any process, so that's where we need, as an industry person, we need to focus on that utmost importantly. So in my thought process, waste is a valuable resource when we are talking about the bioeconomy. We need to transit from fossil fuels to the sustainable energy sources, and wherein these waste which we are generating can be a good potential resource for getting biofuels, and that's where we are heading to. So keeping these all points in my mind, I started this company, Revi, being passionate to use the Mother Nature way of getting carbon, nitrogen, and all other nutrients back. So Mother Nature has this process called anaerobic digestion. So what I started long back in 2017, it's now 5 years, my focus was to start this R&D based startup, because every waste is challenging and every waste needs a very different kind of microflora to work on. So if I want to bioremediate these waste rather than chemically treating and creating another kind of waste which is not treated, and as we know, hazardous landfill sites are now getting filled, and leachate coming out of it is creating another problem. So I wanted to decompose the whole waste rather than just converting it from water to air or air to solid or something like that in a circular way. I wanted to dispose that the whole waste. Although we have reduced the amount of waste, we wanted to first that process, and then finally what we want to dispose is has to be mineralized. That means it has to come go into the very basics of this their components, and that's where I started this particular thing. And as India is on rapid economic development, we need to have an industry sources or the energy sources to cater our economic growth. Industries and municipality both are facing this challenge of managing their waste, and this resource we wanted to use and further go into the other products. So as I mentioned, I tried and understand the anaerobic and aerobic conditions or the mother nature way of decomposing things into mineralization. And that's where our expertise comes into picture, and we are trying to solve the issue. So when I talk about waste management in the greenest way, rather than just chemical precipitation or other things, when we are doing even from the air pollution, we can use these kinds of microbes, which is called as gas fermentation. There are other things, but the process remains same, that you will be having in heart of your process will be anaerobic digester, and you can do a lot of process around it. And I am focused on to this particular pathway as company. And our understanding as an expert is on these particular digestion process, and we have isolated right kind of microbes. Our first product contains right kind of microorganisms for the organic waste. We are customizing these for specific waste materials, and to convert them. And that's where the our expertise as biotechnologists come into picture into the waste or the circular economy domain. So this is little bit of metabolism. Let us not go along into that, but the main thing I wanted to say from here is that these Mother Nature works in a very syntropic manner. They work in synergy. So one bacteria works, and then the product generated by them is taken care by other, and so on, so forth. So we can use these particular knowledge of these metabolism to really do to extract best of the best compounds or best of the best material out of the waste material. So for our first product, this slide is just showing you that there are two ways. If we can do aerobic treatment, but aerobic treatment needs a lot of energy and creates a sludge, whereas anaerobic treatment doesn't do that. And with the conventional anaerobic treatment methodology, the problem is that we don't have right kind of microorganisms to start it. So we have created this particular product which helps these existing anaerobic reactors to perform better. So these are our core products which we sell. There is one for aeration also. For aeration, the challenge is you need to have a lot of nutrient inputs, and a lot of stringent laws have come even for the procurement of urea. So we need to have that kind of nutrient supply, so which we supply for the aerations also. So what is our approach as company is that we try and understand the effluent correctly. So when it comes to the specific industry, what I have talked about, RAVS is basically meant for the organic pollutants, which are biodegradable, or I will say any other effluent, we need to characterize it. So our approach is we characterize the effluent, then we do a SMA test wherein we understand that how the anaerobic bacteria work on that, and if that is coming positive, then we go ahead and develop the specific microorganisms for that particular effluent which is required, and that's where we are working with various industry at this point of time, wherein we are specifically removing TDS, we are removing specifically the sulfates from the effluent, heavy metals from the effluent, very specific degradations of dye, as well as the petroleum industry and other industry. And in textile also, we are trying to help them with the sludge, which is the CETPs or other dye industry clusters are facing. We are working with both of them. And we also provide, basis on our study, we provide them a design which they can execute or they can implement. This is one of the study which we have done for wastewater treatment of a potato starch, although it is not directly relevant to the textile industry. But what we could able to do is, they were not using their solid waste. We could able to develop a product, a process wherein they can utilize both of their waste, because they were sending this waste to the landfill site. Now we are using both their waste, and they can recover a huge amount of energy, which is a green energy for them to use. So this is for the CETP cluster, dye cluster. As you know, dye cluster faces a lot of issues. Every member of the dye cluster has a different kind of process, and the components which are coming are very difficult, but they also do a lot of aerobic treatment and other treatment, and creates a lot of sludge which they are sending to a landfill site. We have used their sludge itself and converted into biogas, and that's where we have demonstrated that after digestion in this way, the rest of the material can be used as a compost. So total process become everything of that particular waste is utilized. So this is what we are doing with the viscose manufacturing company, wherein we are trying to remove their TDS problem. They have a heavy metal, they have a TDS. So what we have developed is a specific microbial consortia having more of sulfate reducing bacteria in that inocula to treat their wastewater, and making their whole ETP more sustainable. So we have worked with a lot of waste treatment units till now, from food nutraceutical to dye and the fiber, petrochemical also. So these are some of the awards which we have got, and these are the stepping stones, and we have now moved out of the incubator. We are very thankful to the ecosystem which has been created in India for taking our dreams actually as a scientist to a level which I wanted. So now we are out of our incubator lab, which you can see on the slide on the left hand side, the STBI. Now we have our own R&D setup, wherein we have full-fledged lab having microbiological setup, whole wastewater characterization and everything, wherein we do these studies. And this is the glimpse of our pilot plant from where we supply the cultures. So I stop my presentation here. My main goal is to provide water for all, and I'm looking forward to the other stakeholders to fulfill this particular mission of ours, that we need to have a clean water for all. So now I welcome Mr. Ganesh Shankar, who is co-founder and CEO of FluxGen Technology. FluxGen is a technology-driven industrial water management firm that helps industries to monitor their wastewater usage in real time by AquaGen, a smart real-time industrial water monitoring system, thus helping industry to reduce water usage and wastage and becoming more responsible and sustainable. Welcome, Ganesh Shankar sir.
Thank you so much for having me in this wonderful session. Really a privilege and honor to be here. I'm here to share about how our efforts are towards de-risking industries and commercial facilities from water crisis. I want to give a bit of a background on why we are doing this. My father said there were more than 1,000 lakes before I was born in the city of Bangalore, and we only have a small fraction. The earliest childhood, we had a well at home and we used to consume water from that. And by the time I started going to my school, it dried out. Fortunately, got the tap connection. And but by the time I went to my middle school, my father had to construct a overhead tank because water was not coming on a daily basis. So we had to plan for water. But by the time I went to high school, he had to get a sump also done, so that because water was not filling the overhead tank. Eventually, by the time I went to my college, he got another tank. And today we even get water from tanker. So this is how I have seen water and have seen water scarcity. And now think of it, if water has to be prioritized, now there's a competition for water because people are all contesting for it. Between industries and somebody like my father, who would be prioritized? I'm pretty sure, like, since my father is also part of the governance selection process, he would say, proud voter, he would be prioritized to get his basic amenity in water. So industries are in massive and imminent risk because of this crisis of water. And today, Prime Minister Modi has actually planned to come with has come up with the Har Ghar Jal. That means the demand for domestic water will only increase. So the share of water available for industries is further going to come down. So technically, industries are in huge risk, right? Let me break it down for you. One is a financial risk. The cost of water for industries will increase significantly. Today, groundwater extraction is charged for industries. And there's a cost associated with chilling, boiling, pumping, which can be anywhere from 20x to 100x the cost of the water that they buy. I mean, McKinsey says 100x for paper and pulp. So that means there's an indirect cost of water. Then there's also cost associated to treatment of water. That means when you, all the water that you consume shouldn't, the contaminated water shouldn't go down the drain, right? It should come back and you should circularly utilize it. So the cost of treatment of water is also becoming very expensive. I know one of our customers buy water at 100 rupees per kiloliter. The treatment cost is 1,000 rupees per kiloliter. Of course, it's tannery. Business continuity risk is actually evolving as a much bigger risk for industries today. I know a reputed multinational company's dairy actually shut down for 18 days because of unavailability of water. So what it means that their competitors were able to get all their customers and there's a permanent switch. So that's a big risk for industries of business continuity. Of course, the next one is the compliance. If they don't do the compliance, that's also a business continuity risk. Let me talk about the compliance risk. As such in India, the Water Act of India mandates that you have to monitor water at key location. And today it's even more important because of the crisis. Recently, about a year or so back, Government of India made it mandatory that all groundwater extraction, you should get an NOC. And if you're consuming more than 100 kiloliters per day, you have to reduce it by minimum 20%, increase the availability of water by 20%, and make sure that you are responsibly consuming it. Of course, various other specific industries like food processing have a very specific norm on water management. The most important of all threats today, or rather an opportunity that industry sees, business responsibility and sustainability. If I'm buying the shirt in the future, I would know how much water was required to make it. So according to BRSR, which is for the 1,000 SEBI-listed companies, top 1,000 SEBI-listed company, they have to, just like they do financial filing, for every rupee of revenue they make, they should also be filing how much water was required to make that rupee of revenue. This clearly says that how reporting is going to drive sustainable performance, right? So like this, we really see that industries are in risk. So how do you mitigate this risk? I think we've thought about it for quite a long, and what we realize is just like, how a water as a liquid is transparent and clear. What if you make the data of water transparent and clear? Can you solve water crisis? So we believe yes. So we have been able to digitize water infrastructure. So basically we digitize water flow, water level, water pressure, energy consumed by water infrastructure, water quality, and identify inefficiencies in water network to reduce overall wastage by up to 30%, right? So what I also mean to say is we bring in prescriptive alerts, what would take days together, months together, weeks together, or years together to fix a problem, they will get to know in less than 20 minutes time, and they'll be able to fix it in less than half an hour time. That's how we are going to save water. Today, underground pipes, nobody knows where the water is getting waste. Over and beyond, we also give how is their water infrastructure performing. So if their water treatment plant is going to shut down after 2 months, they'll get to know in advance. And by that, they will be able to take predictive analytics using our platform. They'll be able to take corrective action immediately than actually wait for it to. So it is both expensive and also has a compliance issue if they don't fix it. There's also a huge amount of energy cost associated to pumping purification that also get reduced by using this. So there's a financial return on investment, avoiding any kind of business continuity risk by planning it in advance. And of course, making sure that their compliance issues are also covered. So of course, we have a hardware software platform. We have IoT hardware that takes data from sensors like flow meter, level sensor, pressure sensor, quality sensor, and other, put into the IoT hardware that we have developed. And we have a cloud analytics that would provide this mobile and web dashboard for corrective action. Of course, we have been using AI for so many things, entertainment, gaming, retail, and others. We strongly believe that should be utilized for something as important as water. So we've been using artificial intelligence and data science and along with IoT to solve this. A typical water balance chart of a generic water balance chart would look something like this. And as of today, they don't have any understanding how is it working. What we do is we digitize this infrastructure, identify inefficiencies, wastage, all those things through our platform as mentioned earlier. This would look something like this. The sensors could be as small as a small sensor that you can see on the left top to as big as a big pipe where we put a non-intrusive sensor, clamp it on and identify how much is the water consumed. We also have level sensors, which is again non-intrusive. So there's no cutting of pipe. There's no, you have to shut down your production to put this. It's just while the production is going on, you can put this, and at the same time, very accurate above all. Right. So our dashboard provide consumption pattern, consumption anomaly detection. So this is definitely an industry's note. What is a benchmark for historical consumption, and they could have to comply to it. Already mentioned predictive analytics. And today, as I said, it's very important for goods produced, what is the equivalent water that is required. Actually, it's also carbon, but we focus on water. So we've been able to provide that. So these are some quick dashboards that we have been able to help some of our clients. So of course, we provide customized dashboards per vertical, not per client. So we've been able to help various customers to get their dashboard. We have both web, mobile, desktop application. Mobile application, because the ground staff would not be in front of a computer screen. They are always running around, and they need alerts quickly, and they have to take action. Web dashboard for different managerial levels, executive to mid-level, there is different dashboards. Would like to give a quick example of a Lactalis, since Prime Minister Modi is in France today. It's also interesting to share that a French company, world's largest dairy producer. So they have been able to utilize our solution. They've been very conscious of consumption of water and wanted any acquired companies also to stand. So we were able to deploy our sensor. They were able to reduce significant amount of water that also avoid any kind of business continuity risk, and compliance risks were taken care. GKNMH is one of the oldest hospitals. Mysore Kings used to get treated here when this hospital was built. This hospital, after deploying our solution, were able to reduce significant amount of water, 16%. And over and beyond, they were able to plan their water better. They were able to get significant return on investment. Not just that, the hospital won the CII National Water Award after deploying the solution. It's like the Oscars in water management in India. And they got US Green Building Council platinum rated, Indian Green Building Council platinum rated after deployment. They got a score of 14 out of 15 leads water score after deploying this solution, which is like while the global average is 10. Right. So we have 70 plus clients across. Some of the key clients are here, which comes across food processing, beverage, metals, mining, textile, pharma, some of the large guzzlers, and where they have large treatment plants and treatment related issues, including hospitals and automobile also as our customers that you can see here. So yeah, happy to share that companies like Tata Steel has done a press release about their partnership with us, and Britannia and others have given a quick testimonial. We're fortunate to have been selected by Government of India under AMRUT 2.0 as a technology and implementation partner. Have had the chance to present to various leaders in industry, including Jamshed Godrej to Gautam Adani to other international. Partnered with as part of Project Amplify. We were the showcase solution by government by Microsoft for the global audience. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to end the presentation with recently Prime Minister Modi spoke about our work in Man Ki Baat, and we feel really privileged that he spoke about an Indian startup to the entire audience, that is the entire country. I would like to quickly run the audio. It's just a 30 seconds.
जल संरक्षण से जुड़े स्टार्टअप्स की एक स्टार्टअप है फ्लॉक्स जैन। ये स्टार्टअप आईओटी एनेबल्ड तकनीक के जरिए वाटर मैनेजमेंट के विकल्प देता है। ये टेक्नोलॉजी पानी के इस्तेमाल के पैटर्न्स बताएगा और पानी के प्रभावी इस्तेमाल में मदद करेगा।
Very thankful to Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi. So yes, fortunate to have also won some national and international award for the work that we have done. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, a big thank you to Dr. Vanitha and to Ganesh for really providing that great insights. I want to now quickly, use the time to get into question and answers. We are waiting for Dr. Vanitha to just join us as well. I think she's joined us through the audio. I understand she had to travel, because of which she's not able to turn on her video at the moment. But yeah, great, Dr. Vanitha. So my first question that I can see relevant for our session is maybe if I can just ask Ganesh, there is a question which has come. Are any of these solutions possible for a small scale unit, or are they only for large companies?
So actually, water conservation, as you know, is not limited to any specific size. It's important for all, because all industries consume water, and at the same time, they have a responsible way to manage effluents, right? So we have been able to help all size of industries. Of course, there are certain regulations for large industry which makes it even important for them. But I think we have served a lot of MSME who have been looking for our solution. JJ Mills, this one, I mean, various industries in Tirupur have been utilizing our solution and been very happy about it. And yeah, I think, in fact, smaller industries have to be even more careful, because the competition for water, they might be on the side of disadvantage. So it's even important for them to plan their water better. So I would say the vulnerability scale, I think smaller industries are an even big risk when it comes to water.
Super. Can I just picking up another question? Are you aware of any water footprint studies which have been done across industries, since you've been working across industries, particularly in the context of India?
Yeah, there is a Central Pollution Control Board by itself has done benchmark for water consumption for each industry. And depending on the industry, for each process, there is also a benchmark consumption. And that's the very reason why Water Act of India, which is come through Pollution Control Board, which says that there has to be sub-metering at each location and you have to report it. Right? And so there's definitely, depending on which industry you are, there is numbers fixed, and there's a global benchmark and an Indian benchmark. Incidentally, Indian benchmarks is more aggressive, and I'm very glad that India has always been on the side of conservation and on the side of using water responsibly through these benchmarks.
Super. Thank you so much for that, Ganesh. There is a question for Dr. Vanitha. Is the produced methane in anaerobic digestion sustainable for the environment?
Yes, sure. When we are recovering methane from any wastewater treatment, we can utilize it as somewhere, either changing it to electricity or something. So we will be reducing our carbon footprint by taking it out as a fuel and then utilizing it. So it can be, the industry can claim for their green fuels, as well as they will be managing their waste. So that will become the dual purpose.
Great, thank you so much. And one more question for you, Dr. Vinitha, is are there any schemes, programs, or funding open for researchers who want to contribute towards sustainability and degradation of remediation of wastewater from textile industries? Are you aware of any?
Yes, sir. There are a lot of schemes available, specifically coming from when you are talking about life science. BIRAC also gives us specific calls. Apart from that, if they are like a researcher and industry, there are some few institutes dedicated to water use has been established. One is in TERI, one is in IIT GN. So I'm associated with those people, and we are trying to solve the water issues. So they can connect with us and we can take that forward.
Yes, I would, we are running a little behind schedule, but I would like to just, assure all those questions that are there, even if they're not attended to right now. After the webinar, we will be picking it up and taking it up directly with our panelists and getting back with responses. And where needed, we will try and also connect the attendees with the relevant experts. Of course, this is all subject to their availability and time, but we are going to have a follow-up on this webinar. So in the interest of time, I think I would just like to thank you both. Thank you so much, Ganesh. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanitha, for joining the session, for sharing your great insights. And I think actually in the previous session as well, Mr. Anjani Prasad had mentioned that we are going to need to be more conscious about water, right? I mean, and I think Ganesh, at the start of your presentation itself, you mentioned that. And I think your contributions today will help the textile industry, which is so heavily dependent on water, to kind of be more sustainable. And I think, Ganesh, you've said it's going to be critical for business continuity as well, right? So I think sustainability is not just because it's good for the environment. It is going to reach a point very soon, unfortunately, where it is going to be necessary for your business continuity. So thank you so much for sharing your great insights and your presentation. And we will now move over to the next session. Thank you, Ganesh. And we will now move over. Thank you, ma'am. And we will now move over to the next session. I'm sorry that we're having to speed through some of these Q&As because we have a couple of more sessions ahead of us and running short on time. So over to Shilpi from Fiber to Fashion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vanitha, for chairing the session. And I would also like to thank Mr. Ganesh for his valuable inputs. As Mr. Ganesh shared, given the demands on the scarce water resources in the coming times, it will be most important for the sustainability of the industry itself that we increasingly adopt solutions to improve efficiency and circularity in the water use. So I would like to thank you both for your valuable insights on this topic.